Andy Smith at Streetwise TV uploaded a video on the 24th of January called The Murder of Lee Duffy, and the entire video is plagiarized from 5 articles. The text has simply been copied and pasted. Allow me to prove it to you. First, I'm going to play a segment from 36 seconds into the video, and at the same time I will show you a screenshot of an article from the Irish Sun called MIDDLESBROUGH Gangster Who was Lee Duffy, and where was he from?
As well as in the drug trade, Lee worked as a bouncer. In August 1991, Duffy's time was up as he was killed by the man who he counted as his friend, David Allison. A fight with Allison broke out on Marton Road in Middlesbrough after they spoke at a blue party in the Afro-Caribbean Centre. The duo took the fight out to the car park in front of a huge crowd. Lee's name. Let's
continue. At a minute into the video, text is directly copied from an article by Teesside Live. Let's take a look.
The time. In February 1993, Allison went on trial at Teesside Crown Court. He told the jury he feared for his life when Duffy picked the fatal fight with him, knowing the notorious thug regularly carried a gun. The court heard movie-like tales of Duffy's violent ways with details of his gun-toting exploits. Duffy had played Russian roulette with a loaded revolver, declaring himself invincible. Cheers erupted from the public gallery, and Allison smiled as a jury found him not guilty of both murder and manslaughter, ruling that he acted in self-defense. So Allison did not get charged for the murder.
Later in the video, text is once again stolen from this same article.
Following Duffy's death, characters from Middlesbrough's seedy underworld vied for the top criminal spot left by Duffy. Around half a dozen men looked to muscle in and fill the shoes of the feared crime boss, but police believed there would be no man able to take Duffy's spot. Detective Chief Inspector Brian Leonard, who led the hunt for Duffy's killer, said at the time, "There won't be another bloke like Duffy, he was a one-off."
That's pretty embarrassing, Andy. And then 2 minutes into the video, there is an entire minute of content which is stolen from a Northern Echo article called Northallerton Author's Book on Middlesbrough Hardman Lee Duffy.
His fights and violence took place in pubs and clubs in the region, as well as on the football terraces. Despite being a thorn in the side of Cleveland police, he was recounted as being surprisingly helpful and polite to officers who arrested or questioned him. He was 17.5 stone and 6 feet and taxed every drug dealer. I'm not glorifying him, but the fact of the matter is he happened. It's a huge part of Middlesbrough's history. A local reporter said, "I spoke to some family members, some enemies, some famous, some infamous, some people who knew him in person. One said he was a picture of evil, but a lot of people, 24 out of the 30 I spoke to, have been positive." He also said, "Since he died, 27 years have passed and people still talk about him today. Some hate him and say he was an absolute monster. Others have cried in front of me and said they still miss him so much, but he had a good heart and was so caring." He's the most notorious character ever to come out of Middlesbrough, possibly the Northeast. The name Lee Duffy in Middlesbrough notorious. He was their Ronnie Cray.
This is just laziness. I have put more effort into this video than you put into yours. At 3 minutes and 37 seconds into the video, another minute of text is once again plagiarized from another article, this time from the Chronicle Live article, Turf Wars, Gangster Lee Duffy's obsession with former Tyneside hardman Viv Graham revealed.
While Duffy was a party boy and a fighter, Graham had settled down and was running a business, but the author believes Duffy was determined to have it out with his foe and rival. Duffy spent many years in Durham prison and was in at the same time as Viv Graham. They clashed because they were the alpha male type. It was almost like he wanted to prove who was the top dog in the Northeast, said Jamie. Duffy despised Viv Graham, but I don't think, realistically, they were ever going to have a fight. Viv Graham was a businessman, and he had the sense to keep away, but Duffy was a fighter. Viv had a head on his shoulders, but Lee Duffy knew he was going to die, so lived in the moment. He knew his days were numbered. Viv was a big strong man and a frightening man, the whole of Newcastle know that. But he was 34 when he died and Duffy was 26. Viv had a business plan and a business brain, whereas Duffy was an out-and-out thug who wanted to fight everyone. But Lee was obsessed with Viv Graham for months. He got out of prison in May 1990, and for the last 15 months of his life, he was up in Newcastle every weekend. I have spoken to many bouncers who said he was absolutely obsessed with Viv. He did everything in his power to get messages to him. I have spoken to people in Newcastle who said he was in Newcastle virtually every weekend.
And then, the exact next paragraph of the video is stolen from another article. Let's continue.
So from an outsider looking into this story of Lee Duffy, I must admit it's an interesting one. The more I have made this short documentary, the more I've got more and more interested. Prior to his violent death in 1991, the ex-boxer and bouncer had already survived 3 alleged attempts on his life. He was shot on 2 occasions and once had petrol poured over him. One of Duffy's acquaintances once said, "He was like the Terminator. He kept saying, 'I'll be back.'" He was one of the most feared men in the area, and many will remember his reign of terror before his untimely death in 1991, aged 26.
All of the links of the articles are linked in the description. Safe to say, Andy and Joshy Pop Pop do not know how to make documentaries. They simply copy and paste text from articles and try to pass it off as their own hard work. Also, it's worth mentioning that Andy said this documentary took a couple of weeks to make.
This documentary's taken us a couple of weeks to make, but it's going to be an absolute banger.
How slow is your mouse sensitivity, guys? Thanks for watching the video. I hope Andy and Joshy learned that you cannot cut corners and think you can get away with it. We're not all that easily fooled. Do better. Actually put in some effort next time.